Easy Voter Guide, easyvoterguide.org, easyvoterguide.org, League of Women Voters of California Education Fund. Your Vote, Your Voice, November 3rd, 2020, California General Election. Are you signed up to vote? October 19th, 2020 is the last day to register to vote in this election. If you are registered to vote, you will get a ballot mailed to you about a month before Election Day. November 3rd, 2020 is Election Day. Your voting location is open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Visit Easy Voter Guide, that's easyvoterguide.org to order copies or download this guide in English, Spanish, Chinese, Vietnamese, and Korean. This guide is a collaboration of the League of Women Voters of California Education Fund and the California State Library. For voters. What's new for voters? The state of California wants to make it easy and safe to vote during the COVID-19 pandemic. This fall, every registered voter in California will receive a ballot in the mail about a month before November 3rd, Election Day. You can choose to return the ballot by mail, drop it off, or instead vote in person. Read pages 14 through 15 for more details. Get ready. Register to vote by October 19th at registertovote.ca.gov. That's registertovote.ca.gov. Check your registration to make sure it's up to date. If your signature has changed over time, then re-register to update your signature at voterstatus.sos.ca.gov. That's voterstatus.sos.ca.gov. If you want to get voting materials in a language other than English, make that choice at voterstatus.sos.ca.gov. That's voterstatus.sos.ca.gov. Help for voters. Voters Edge, an online election guide from the League of Women Voters of California Education Fund and MapLight. Voters Edge makes it easy to see everything that will be on your ballot, including national, state, and local candidates and measures. Type in your home address at votersedge.org, votersedge.org. You can also see your voting location. Official Voter Information Guide from the California Secretary of State. The Secretary of State's guide includes voting resources, detailed information about the state propositions, and statements from candidates. Find the Official Voter Information Guide online at voterguide.sos.ca.gov, voterguide.sos.ca.gov. The Easy Voter Guide. You can order copies or download this guide in 5 languages at easyvoterguide.org. County Elections Offices. Find your county elections office online at sos.ca.gov/county-elections-offices. That's sos.ca.gov/COUNTY-elections-OFFICES. Voter hotlines from the California Secretary of State. Voters who want to find out more can also call the Secretary of State at these numbers. In English, 800-345-8683. In Spanish, 800-232-8682. In Chinese, 800-339-2857. In Hindi, 888-345-2692. In Japanese, 800-339-2865. In Khmer, 888-345-4917. In Korean, 866-575-1558. In Tagalog, 800-339-2957. In Thai, 855-345-3933. In Vietnamese, 800-339-8163. In TTY or TDD, it's 800-833-8683. What's inside this guide? This guide will cover about the general election, Your Voice Matters, a spotlight on justice, state propositions, and ways to vote. About the November 3rd, 2020 general election. In this general election, voters will choose a president and representatives in U.S. Congress and the California State Legislature. Vote yes or no on 12 proposed state laws for California. Vote for other candidates and proposed laws depending on where you live. Every registered voter will get a voter information guide in the mail that lists everything they can vote on. You do not have to vote on everything. Your votes still count even if you choose to skip some things on the ballot. In voting for candidates, the way we choose our president is different from the way we choose other candidates in California. How we elect the president. Each of California's 6 political parties has a candidate running for president. The parties are American Independent, Democratic, Green, Libertarian, Peace and Freedom, and Republican. These candidates were chosen by voters from each political party in the March primary election. How we elect U.S. Senator, U.S. Representative, California State Senator, and California State Assembly member. 2 candidates who got the most votes in the March primary election are running against each other. It is possible that these 2 candidates could be from the same political party. Voting for proposed laws, propositions. California voters will also make decisions on 12 proposed laws, propositions. There's Proposition 14 on stem cell research. Proposition 15, taxes on commercial property. Proposition 16, allow public agencies to consider diversity. Proposition 17, voting rights for people who have completed their prison term. Proposition 18, voting rights for 17-year-olds. Proposition 19, changes in property tax rules. Proposition 20, changes to criminal penalties and parole. Proposition 21, local governments and rent control. Proposition 22, rideshare and delivery drivers. Proposition 3, kidney dialysis clinics. Proposition 24, changes to consumer privacy laws. Proposition 25, yes or no on getting rid of bail. Visit Voters Edge, votersedge.org to see what will be on your ballot. It's easy. Just enter your home address. President and Vice President. In this election, the country will elect a president and a vice president for a 4-year term. The candidates for president and vice president will run together as a pair. You can vote for one pair. The president oversees most federal departments, approves or rejects new laws, presents a budget each year to Congress, and is in charge of foreign policy and the armed forces. The vice president takes over if something happens to the president, runs meetings of the U.S. Senate. They attend important events for the president, and has other duties chosen by the president. How we elect the president. You can think of the election for president as 51 separate elections, one for each state and Washington, D.C. To win a state, a candidate must win the majority of the people's votes. This is called the popular vote. In most cases, the winner of the state's popular vote takes all of that state's electoral votes. Each state has a certain number of electoral votes based on how many people live in the state. States with the most people have the most electoral votes. The total number of electoral votes from all the states is 538. To become president, a candidate must win at least 270 electoral votes. In December, after the general election, the Electoral College officially counts the electoral votes, even though we already know who the winner is. The winner will take the office in January of 2021. Your vote for president really matters because just a few people's votes can decide if a candidate wins all of your state's electoral votes. Elections for presidents have been very close, and each state makes a big difference. The state of California has 55 electoral votes. Your representatives in government. How you're represented in the U.S. and state government. Offices that represent everyone in California. President with a 4-year term. United States Senator has a 6-year term. There is no U.S. Senate election on this year's ballot. The next U.S. Senate election in California will be in 2022. Offices that represent a specific district in California are the U.S. Representative in Congress for a 2-year term, California State Senator, a 4-year term. Odd-numbered districts will be voted on in this election, and the California State Assembly member with a 2-year term. California has 53 members in the U.S. House of Representatives. They are each elected for a 2-year term. The U.S. House of Representatives represent the people from their California district in Washington, D.C. They help develop the federal budget and U.S. policy priorities. They work with other U.S. representatives to make new laws and hold hearings. Every state has 2 U.S. senators. They are each elected for a 6-year term. There is no U.S. Senate election on this year's ballot. The next U.S. Senate election in California will be in 2022. U.S. Senators. They represent the people of their state in Washington, D.C. They help develop the federal budget and U.S. policy priorities. And they work with other U.S. senators to make new laws, hold hearings, and approve judges and other appointments. Your voice matters. Spotlight on justice. People across the country are talking about the criminal justice system. Criminal justice is how we try to prevent crime, keep people safe, and treat people accused of breaking the law. Communities are also talking about how to make sure the justice system is safe and fair for everyone, especially those who are Black, Latino, Indigenous, Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander, Middle Eastern, and other people of color. This year's election will include propositions that affect people who are impacted by the criminal justice system. These are Props 17, 20, and 25. Voters will also make decisions about city and county officials who are part of the criminal justice system. The officials make choices that affect community safety, justice, fairness, and equality. By voting for local officials, you can have a say in the way that justice works in your community. When you vote, choose candidates who share your values and will help your community thrive. Sheriffs. Your sheriff is the top law enforcement officer for the county. County sheriffs are elected by voters. Sheriffs supervise the conditions of county jails, direct a staff of deputies, and act as the local police in some communities. They can also start programs to prevent crime and support people leaving prison, change department policies about use of force, require deputies to wear body cameras, and choose how to cooperate with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE. District attorneys. Your county district attorney, or DA, decides how to treat people accused of crimes. DAs decide if someone should be charged with a crime and what charges to file. They can also recommend jail, prison, or death penalty sentences. support alternatives to jail and prison, such as rehabilitation or community mental health, and decide whether to change policy officers accused of brutality or corruption. Judges. Judges oversee the court process and protect the rights of people in the legal system. They have a great deal of power over whether the legal process is free of bias. Voters may see two different types of state judges on their ballot this year. There's a Superior County Court. Each county has a Superior Court where judges deal with criminal and civil cases. Superior Court judges can set bail, decide on punishment, and require alternate programs like counseling or drug treatment. The Court of Appeals. Appeals court judges can overturn decisions made by Superior Court judges. They can also determine if a law is legal under the California Constitution. Mayors and city councils. Your mayor and city council make decisions that affect criminal justice. City councils oversee city services, including the police department. In some large cities, mayors also have more power to make decisions. Mayors and city councils can set goals for public safety, choose how money is spent, appoint important city leaders, such as the police chief. For more information on criminal justice in your local government, visit electjusticeca.org. That's electjusticeca.org. State propositions. Propositions are proposed laws presented to the public to vote on. Propositions can make new laws, change existing laws, and sometimes they can change California's constitution. They can be placed on the ballot by people who collect enough voter signatures or by state lawmakers, the California legislature. A proposition passes and becomes law if it receives more than 50% yes votes. Propositions 14 through 24 are initiatives. For an initiative, a yes vote means that you support the way the proposition would change things. A no vote means that you want to leave things the way they are now. Proposition 25 is a referendum, which asks voters to decide on a law that was already passed. For a referendum, a yes vote means that you support the law and want to keep it. A no vote means you do not want the law to go into effect. There are 12 state propositions in this election. You do not have to vote on everything. Learn about propositions that are important to you and make your choice, yes or no. Proposition 14, Stem Cell Research Initiative. The way it is now, stem cells are a special type of human cell that is used for medical research. They can grow into many different types of cells, such as brain cells or heart cells. Stem cells are used to find treatments for many kinds of diseases. In 2004, California voters approved $3 billion in bonds to pay for research and medical studies using stem cells. What Proposition 14 would do if it passes. Proposition 14 would allow the state to sell $5.5 billion in new bonds to pay for more stem cell research and medical treatments. $1.5 billion from the bonds will go to research and treatment for brain diseases such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Effect on the state budget. The total cost to repay the bond plus interest would be around $7.8 billion. The state would pay around $260 million each year for the next 30 years. If the state's stem cell research leads to new medical treatments, the state could get some money for use for patients' treatments. The amount it might receive is not clear. If you vote yes, people for Proposition 4 say stem cells have led to new medical treatments and important research that should be continued. Prop 14 provides money that will help fight many serious diseases, including cancer, diabetes, and heart disease. If you vote no, people against Proposition 14 say, we should not be spending billions of dollars on Proposition 14 when so many people are out of work. The federal government and private groups are already helping pay for important stem cell research. What is a bond? Bonds are a way for governments to borrow money. The government sells bonds to get money now and pays them back with interest over many years. Proposition 15, Taxes on Commercial Property, Initiative Constitutional Amendment. The way it is now, land used for businesses and shopping centers is called commercial property. Owners of commercial property pay taxes based on how much the property was worth at the time it was purchased. These taxes go up by a small percent each year. Money from property taxes goes to local governments. These include cities, counties, public schools, and special districts such as library and fire districts. What Proposition 15 would do if it passes? Prop 15 would change the rules for taxes on commercial property. Commercial property would be taxed based on what the property is worth now, instead of small increases each year based on its purchase price. The new rules would only apply to people and businesses that own more than $3 million in commercial property. There would be no change to taxes on residential homes. Prop 15 would also lower taxes on business equipment such as machines or computers. The effect on the state budget. Local governments would get between $6.5 billion and $11.5 billion more in property taxes each year starting in 2025. The range is vague because it is hard to estimate how much commercial property will be worth each year. Counties might need to spend more money collecting property taxes. If you vote yes, people for Prop 15 say, wealthy companies and business property owners should pay property taxes based on what their holdings are really worth. Taxes from Prop 15 will help pay for important public services such as schools and fire departments. If you vote no, people against Prop 15 say, raising taxes will increase the cost of everything that people buy, including food, gas, and healthcare. Prop 15 will hurt small businesses that are struggling during the current pandemic. Proposition 16, allow public agencies to consider diversity. Legislative Constitutional Amendment. The way it is now. In 1996, California voters passed a law that prevents public programs from using affirmative action when making decisions about public education and public employment. When deciding who gets into college or who to hire, public schools and agencies are usually not allowed to consider a person's race, ethnicity, sex, color, or the country they come from. What Prop 16 would do if it passes. Prop 16 would allow public colleges, universities, and agencies to include race, sex, color, ethnicity, and country of origin as part of their decision-making. They would be allowed to create affirmative action programs to increase diversity or to help certain groups. The effect on the state budget. Prop 16 would have no direct effect on state or local budgets. Costs would depend on choices made by state and local programs. If you vote yes, people for Prop 16 say, Prop 16 will help women and people of color while fighting long-standing patterns of discrimination. All of us deserve equal opportunities and quality education. If you vote no, people against Prop 16 say, the state should treat everyone equally. When deciding who gets into college or who gets a government job, we should not favor one racial or ethnic group over another. Proposition 17, voting rights for people who have completed their prison term. Legislative Constitutional Amendment. The way it is now. After someone ends their prison term for a serious crime, they may spend time on parole when they get out. People on parole must follow certain rules, such as meeting regularly with their parole officer. Parole usually lasts 3 years. Around 50,000 people are on parole in California. People on parole are not currently allowed to vote. What Prop 17 would do if it passes. Prop 17 would allow people on parole to register to vote and vote in elections. Certain people on parole would be allowed to run for public office. The effect on the state budget. Prop 17 would update the state's voting system. This would cost the state a one-time payment in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Counties might spend more money sending out voter information or counting ballots. This would cost counties in the hundreds of thousands of dollars each year statewide. If you vote yes, people for Prop 17 say, people on parole pay taxes. They should be allowed to vote as well. Parole is a time for people to rebuild their lives. Voting helps people on parole feel more connected to their communities and increases public safety. If you vote no, people against Prop 17 say, parole is a time for serious and violent criminals to prove that they have changed. When people get out of prison, they should complete parole before being allowed to vote. Proposition 18, Voting Rights for 17-year-olds, Legislative Constitutional Amendment. The way it is now, 17-year-olds who are U.S. citizens can pre-register to vote in California. They can only vote if they have turned 18 by Election Day. What Prop 18 would do if it passes. Prop 18 would allow 17-year-olds to vote in primary elections or special elections if they will be 18 years old by the general election in November. Effect on the budget. Prop 18 would increase the number of people who could vote. County election offices would need to spend more money sending out voter information and counting ballots. For each election cycle, Prop 18 would cost up to $1 million statewide. The state would also need to update voter registration systems. This would cost in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you vote yes, people for Prop 18 say, allowing 17-year-olds to vote in primary elections will help increase voter participation. If someone will be 18 years old by the general election, they should be allowed to help choose candidates on the November ballot. If you vote no, people against Prop 18 say, 17-year-olds are not legally adults. They are not mature enough to make important decisions. High school teachers and counselors will be able to influence the way that 17-year-olds vote. Type of elections. Primary elections are held in the spring. During primary elections, voters choose who will be on the ballot for the November general election, vote on statewide ballot measures. The governor can also call a special election when there is an open position in Congress or statewide office. Proposition 19, Changes in Property Tax Rules, Legislative Constitutional Amendment. The way it is now. You must pay property tax if you own a home. Taxes are based on how much the property was worth at the time it was purchased and go up by a small % each year. Homeowners in special groups, such as people over 55, can buy a new home without paying higher property taxes in some counties once in their lifetime. If you inherit a home from your parents or grandparents, your property taxes may also be lower. Money from property taxes goes to local governments such as cities, counties, public schools, and special districts. What Prop 19 would do if it passes. Prop 19 would expand the property tax rules for people in special groups. This includes people over 55, people who are disabled, and people affected by natural disaster. These homeowners could keep their lower property taxes when moving to a new home anywhere in the state up to 3 times. They could also get a tax discount when moving to a more expensive home. People who inherit a home could only pay lower taxes if they live in the house full-time. Taxes would go up on inherited homes worth more than $1 million. The effect on the state budget. Prop 19 would increase some taxes and lower others. Local governments could gain tens of millions of dollars per year in the first few years, and then a few $100 million per year over time. More local money for schools might save the state tens of millions of dollars or more in some years. Counties would need to spend in the tens of millions of dollars each year to measure property taxes. If you vote yes, people for Prop 19 say people should not have to pay higher property taxes on a new home if they lose their home in a disaster. Prop 19 protects older homeowners and creates new opportunities for renters. If you vote no, people against Prop 19 say, Prop 19 is a tax increase that was rejected by voters in 2018. Prop 19 could hurt families who cannot afford to pay taxes on an inherited family home. Proposition 20, changes to criminal penalties and parole, initiative. The way it is now, felonies are considered by the legal system to be the most severe crimes. Less severe crimes are called misdemeanors. When people get out of prison for a felony, they may spend time on parole. Over the past 10 years, lawmakers and voters have reduced punishments for people convicted of some nonviolent crimes. This has let some people out of prison earlier. What Prop 20 would do if it passes? Prop 20 would undo parts of the crime laws passed by lawmakers and voters over the past 10 years. Some petty theft crimes could be punished as felonies. People convicted of stealing crimes worth $250 to $950 could be sent to county jail for up to 3 years in some cases. Prop 20 would also change the factors that can be considered for early release from prison and limit early release for people convicted of some felonies. The state would collect DNA from adults convicted of some misdemeanor crimes, such as drug possession, shoplifting, and domestic violence. The effect on the budget. The effects of Prop 20 would depend on how the law is applied and if it is challenged in court. If Prop 20 fully took effect, it could increase costs for law enforcement, courts, and the correctional system in the tens of millions of dollars each year. If you vote yes, people for Prop 20 say, Prop 20 prevents violent criminals from getting out of prison early. Collecting DNA from people convicted of drug possession or shoplifting will help solve more serious crimes, such as rape. If you vote no, people against Prop 20 say, California already has some of the toughest laws against serious and violent crimes. Prop 20 wastes millions of dollars on prisons that could be spent on education or healthcare or affordable housing. Proposition 21. Local Governments and Rent Control Initiative. The way it is now, housing costs in California tend to be higher than other states. Several California cities have rent control laws that limit how much landlords can increase rents each year. State law prevents rent control on single-family homes in housing built after February 1st, 1995. Landlords can charge any amount they want when a new renter moves in. Landlords must be allowed to increase rents on current renters enough to make a profit each year. A new state law limits rent increases to 5 to 10% each year depending on inflation. This law applies to housing that is more than 15 years old and will be in effect until 2030. What Prop 21 would do if it passes? Cities and counties could pass rent control laws for housing that is more than 15 years old. Communities could limit how much a landlord can increase rent when a new renter moves in. Landlords could raise rent by up to 15% over 3 years on new renters, plus any increase allowed by local law. Prop 21 would only apply to landlords who own more than 2 housing units. Local rent control laws would still need to allow landlords to make some money each year. Effect on the state budget. Prop 21 could decrease money made from state and local taxes. Governments could see decreases in the high tens of millions of dollars each year. Effects would depend on how many cities and counties pass rent control laws and how landlords would respond. If you vote yes, people for Prop 21 say, rent control will help families, children, senior citizens, and veterans stay in their homes. Prop 21 is fair. It guarantees that landlords can still earn a profit. If you vote no, people against Prop 21 say, rent control laws will cause landlords to evict renters. Prop 21 will make housing less available and less affordable at a time when people are struggling to get back to work. Proposition 22, Rideshare and Delivery Drivers Initiative. The way it is now. An independent contractor can choose when, where, and how much to work. An employee has their schedule and work set by their employer. Employees get benefits and protections in that independent contractors do not. These include minimum wage, overtime pay, and paid time off if they are sick. Rideshare and delivery apps include companies such as Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash. These companies currently hire drivers as independent contractors. A 2019 state law requires rideshare and delivery companies to hire drivers as employees instead of as independent contractors. The state attorney general in 3 cities are suing Uber and Lyft for refusing to follow the state's new law. What Prop 22 would do if passed. Rideshare and delivery drivers would stay as independent contractors. Rideshare and delivery companies would have to pay drivers 20% more than the local minimum wage for time spent driving. These companies would have to help pay health insurance costs for contractors who drove more than 15 hours per week and pay medical costs when a driver is injured while working. Prop 22 would also limit cities and counties from putting new rules on rideshare and delivery companies. The effect on the state budget. Prop 22 would lead to small increases in income tax paid by rideshare and delivery company drivers. By keeping drivers as independent contractors, rideshare and delivery companies would likely earn higher profits. If you vote yes, people for Prop 22 say, rideshare and delivery drivers want to work as independent contractors, not employees. Forcing companies to hire drivers as employees would get rid of hundreds of thousands of jobs. If you vote no, people against Prop 22 say, rideshare and delivery companies don't want to pay drivers basic benefits. Treating drivers as employees will make sure they get paid sick leave and unemployment benefits. Proposition 23, Kidney Dialysis Clinics Initiative. The way it is now. If a person's kidneys stop working, they may need special treatment called dialysis. In California, dialysis is usually provided by licensed dialysis clinics. A patient's personal doctor must visit them at least once per month during treatment at a dialysis clinic. Dialysis treatment is paid for by Medicare, Medi-Cal, and private insurance. Private insurance pays more money for treatment than Medicare and Medi-Cal. What Prop 23 would do if it passes. Prop 23 would require dialysis clinics to have a doctor present during all treatment hours. Clinics would have to report any dialysis-related infections to the state every 3 months. Clinics would need permission from the state before closing or reducing services. Clinics could not discriminate against clients based on their insurance or how they are paying for their treatment. The effect on the state budget. Budget effects would depend on how dialysis clinics respond to Prop 23. Dialysis companies might close some clinics or try to charge more money for treatment. Healthcare costs for state and local governments would likely increase in the low tens of millions of dollars each year. The state would spend in the low millions of dollars each year to enforce Prop 23. These state costs could be paid for by increasing licensing fees. If you vote yes, people for Prop 23 say, dialysis is a dangerous procedure. Clinics should always have a doctor available to help. Prop 23 prevents discrimination and protects patients in rural communities. If you vote no, people against Prop 23 say, Prop 23 would take thousands of doctors away from hospitals and emergency rooms, making California's doctor shortage worse. Some dialysis clinics in the state might close due to increased costs. Proposition 24, Changes to Consumer Privacy Laws Initiative. The way it is now. A consumer is someone who buys or uses a product or service. Businesses collect data about consumers for many reasons. They may sell the data to other companies or use it to improve their services. A state law called the California Consumer Privacy Act allows consumers to find out what data companies are collecting about them, tell a business to stop selling their personal data, and have their data removed from a company's files. What Prop 22 would do if it passes: people would have some increased power over their personal data. Consumers could contact companies to prevent them from sharing or using sensitive personal information. This includes location data, health information, or private communications. Prop 24 would also create a state agency that enforces these rules and uses fines to companies that break privacy laws. The effects on the state budget: a new state agency would cost the state $10 million or more each year. Enforcing privacy laws would likely cost the state in the low millions of dollars each year. Fines on companies breaking consumer privacy laws would help pay for the state's costs. The effect on local government budgets is unclear. If you vote yes, people for Prop 24 say we need to stop tech companies from tracking everything we do online. Prop 24 will protect kids by giving the state more power to go after companies that break children's privacy laws. If you vote no, people against Prop 24 say Prop 24 still gives too much power to tech companies to use their data. Consumers should not have to fill out paperwork and send forms to every tech company to have their data protected. Proposition 25, yes or no on getting rid of bail. Referendum. Background. Prop 25 asks voters to decide if the state should get rid of bail. When a person is charged with a crime, they may have to stay in jail while waiting for a trial. One way that people are released from jail is by paying bail. Bail is money used to guarantee that a person will return to court. The state passed a law in 2018 that will replace bail with a new system. This law has not yet gone into effect. Under the new system, people charged with less serious crimes would be released without having to pay bail. Courts would determine if people charged with more serious crimes should be released. A judge could keep someone in jail if the judge decides they are in danger to the public or might not return to court. Certain people released from jail could be required to check in with a probation officer or wear a tracking device. What Prop 25 would do if it passes: voting yes on Prop 25 would get rid of the bail system and allow the state's new law to go into effect. People charged with less serious crimes would be released before trial. Judges would decide if people charged with more serious crimes should be released or kept in jail based on whether they are considered a danger to the public or might not return to court. Voting no on Prop 25 would keep the state's current bail system in place. The effect on the state budget: getting rid of bail would cost state and local governments in the mid-hundreds of millions of dollars each year. Counties would save in the tens of millions of dollars each year due to lower jail costs. If you vote yes, people for Prop 25 say the current bail system is unfair if you cannot afford bail and you must stay in jail. Prop 25 means that decisions will be based on public safety, not on a person's ability to pay. If you vote no, people against Prop 25 say the state's new system could discriminate against African Americans, Latinos, and people who live in low-income neighborhoods. Releasing people from jail will make our communities less safe. How to become a poll worker. Sign up at pollworkers.sos.ca.gov. That's pollworker.sos.ca.gov. Get involved in your community and get paid for it. We need your help to staff voting locations. By being a poll worker, you will empower your neighbors to vote. All voting locations will follow health and safety guidelines for COVID-19. Bilingual poll workers are especially needed. Sign up today at pollworker.sos.ca.gov. Ways to vote. This year, you will have more options to vote safely and easily. The biggest change is that every registered voter in California will receive a ballot in the mail a month before the election. There are 3 ways to vote. You can choose to mail back your ballot or drop it off, or you can vote in person at a voting location that will be set up for safe voting. Choice 1, vote by mail. Mail your ballots back early. You can fill it in and mail it back as soon as you receive it. No stamp, no problem. You do not need a stamp to mail back your ballot. Mark your ballot and seal it inside the envelope provided. Follow the directions on that ballot to mark your choices. Check that you are using the return envelope with your name on it. Put your ballot into the envelope and seal. Only 1 ballot in each envelope. Sign and date the envelope. Date and sign your name on the back of the envelope using ink. Check your signature to make sure it looks like the one on file. If you register to vote at the DMV or online, the signature will be one of your driver's license or state ID. Uncertain, re-register with your updated signature. Return your ballot on time. Mail your ballot back early because it must be postmarked by Election Day, November 3rd. Choice 2, or drop off your ballot. If you decide to hand in your ballot instead of mailing it, you must drop it off no later than 8 p.m. on Election Day, November 3rd. Drop off your ballot at any voting location in your county. Some counties will offer secure ballot drop boxes. For details and locations, check caearlyvoting.sos.ca.gov. That's caearlyvoting.sos.ca.gov. To track my ballot, after returning your ballot, check Where's My Ballot.sos.ca.gov. That's WHERESMYBALLOT.sos.ca.gov to find out where your ballot is in the process and when it has been accepted. Ways to vote continued. Option 3, vote in person. Your voting location may be different this year. Counties are working to provide the best options for safe, socially distanced, in-person voting. At in-person voting locations, you can vote in person, drop off your completed ballot, vote with an accessible voting machine, get help and voting materials in multiple languages. Early voting starting before Election Day will be available in some locations. Find early voting and ballot drop box locations at caearlyvoting.sos.ca.gov. In certain counties, you can vote at any voting location. In other counties, you must visit a special assigned voting location. Find your voting location at findmypollingplace.sos.ca.gov. That's findmypollingplace.sos.ca.gov. Miss the October 19th voter registration deadline? No problem. You can still vote in this election. If you miss the deadline, go to any voting location. You can register and vote on the same day, all the way up through Election Day. If possible, find your assigned location at findmypollingplace.sos.ca.gov. Go to that voting location to make sure you get a ballot with all your local contests. Same day register and vote from home. If you need to register after October 19th and want to vote from home, contact your county elections office to find out how to register and get a vote by mail ballot through Election Day. Check sos.ca.gov/county-elections-offices. That's sos.county-elections-offices. Special rules for 15 counties. Do you live in Amador, Butte, Calaveras, El Dorado, Fresno, Madera, Mariposa, Los Angeles, Napa, Nevada, Orange, Sacramento, San Mateo, Santa Clara, or Tulaming County? You may visit any vote center in your county. Many will open starting Saturday, October 31st, but some will open earlier. Or drop off your ballot at any secure ballot drop box starting Tuesday, October 6th. Check locations and hours at caearlyvoting.sos.ca.gov. Find out more at voterschoice.sos.ca.gov. That's voterschoice.sos.ca.gov. Made a mistake? You can get a replacement ballot. To get a new ballot, contact your county elections office before Election Day or go to your voting location when it opens and ask for a replacement. Easy Voter Guide. 1. Sign up. You are eligible to vote if you are a U.S. citizen, 18 years or older. You must register to get on the official list of voters. The deadline to register is October 19th. You can pick up a voter registration form at your library or post office. Have a registration form mailed to you by calling 1-800-345-8683 or fill out the form online at registertovote.ca.gov. That's registertovote.ca.gov. Miss the deadline? You can still register to vote in this election at any voting location. If you go to your assigned location, then your ballot will be sure to be included in all the contests on which you're allowed to vote. Check findmypollingplace.sos.ca.gov. Once you are on the list, you only need to re-register if you change your address, change your name, want to change your political party, need to update your signature, or because you are no longer in prison or on parole for a felony. Step 2, get ready. Before you vote, it helps to learn about what you will be voting on. In addition to a ballot, all registered voters will receive 2 things in the mail. 1, a county voter information guide that lists everything that will be on your ballot. And 2, a second voter information guide from the state about statewide candidates and measures. In addition to this easy voter guide, you can visit the Voters Edge website at votersedge.org. That's votersedge.org for more information about everything on your ballot, plus a handy way to find voting locations. Step 3, vote. This year, if you are already registered to vote, you will receive a ballot in the mail. If you wish to use the mailed ballot instead of voting in person, fill it out and mail it back early so that it is postmarked no later than Election Day. You may also drop it off at any voting location in your county on Election Day. Your county may also open secure ballot drop box locations starting about a month before Election Day. You choose whether to vote in person or at your voting location or use a vote-by-mail ballot. For voting in person on Tuesday, November 3rd, the polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. You may also be able to vote before Election Day. Check caearlyvoting.sos.ca.gov. For information on voting locations, dates, and hours, check findmypollingplace.sos.ca.gov. A voting tip. If you choose to vote in person, it may help to bring the ballot that was mailed to you. If you don't bring your mailed ballot, some counties will require you to vote using a provisional ballot that will be counted once election officials check that you are eligible to vote. If you live in one of the following counties, you can get a regular ballot at any voter center. even if you didn't bring the ballot that was mailed to you. These counties are Amador, Butte, Calaveras, El Dorado, Fresno, Madera, Mariposa, Los Angeles, Napa, Nevada, Orange, Sacramento, San Mateo, Santa Clara, and Tulane. About the Easy Voter Guide. The Easy Voter Guide is made possible in part by the U.S. Institute of Museum and Library Services under the provisions of the Library Services and Technology Act, administered in California by the state librarian. The League of Women Voters of California Education Fund is a 501 nonpartisan organization that encourages informed and active participation in government and works to increase understanding of major public policy issues. The League of Women Voters of California Education Fund is proud to partner with the Key to Community Project and Common Knowledge for Community review of this guide. ElectionTools.org is the source of the images found on pages 14 and 15. For more information, go to cavotes.org. Please send questions or suggestions about this guide to easyvoter@lwvc.org. That's EASYVOTER @lwvc.org.